everyone, and welcome to Buzzer Beaters. It's been a few weeks since we've had this show, namely because I actually was down in Southern California dropping off my kid to college, my one and only kid. And Twan, let me tell you, bro, there wasn't many waterworks, man. I got it all out of the way before that so that my daughter wouldn't see me all weeping up in front of her, right? So
you're trying to work up the machismo, bro. You're trying to work up the machismo.
Man, that's right.
I know you broke down in the car. Don't lie to me.
No, I did. I said it here a few times there, but I didn't want her to see me get like that, right? So, but anyway, it's been a few weeks, audience, since we've had a show. As you know, we wound down the NBA after Team USA got the gold, and then we I let everybody know that we would probably not reconvene until now because of my having to go drop off my kid to college. But we're back, and we are back with a vengeance. There's not going to be too much NBA talk. As I mentioned, this podcast is dedicated to basketball. We will dibble and dabble in the NCAA tournament. We will dibble and dabble in WNBA like we will today. And then, primarily we talk about NBA, right? That's our specialty. That's Twan and I's specialty. So let's just get the other stuff out of the way. So grumblingsmedia.com owns Buzzer Beaters. You can go ahead and find Buzzer Beaters on grumblingsmedia.com. You can find us on other outlets such as Pandora, Spotify, X, Facebook, anywhere you can find your podcast is where you can find Buzzer Beaters. So this is episode 18, and this is a special episode because I'm actually going to go ahead and introduce a new member of our team who's going to be joining us on a frequent basis, talk about WNBA when it makes sense. But she's a friend of mine that I've known for quite some time. Her name is Angel Johnson. So I'm going to go ahead and bring her on the stage. Hey, Angel.
Hello.
Hey, I love it. You put even Dr. J on there. We're going to have to get into that.
Yes.
Hey, Angel.
Yes.
So I brought we brought Angel onto the team here to talk WNBA because, frankly, Twan and I we are very limited on our knowledge of WNBA. Frankly, just to tell you, Angel, how limited we are. I think the players that we knew up until the newest, the newest members of the WNBA. We knew Cheryl Miller back in the day. That's ages us big time. Cheryl Miller was the beast back then about the WNBA. And I think there was an Ann Miller. I think there was another one that was pretty good that almost was trying out for an NBA team at the time. But that was a long time ago. Our knowledge of WNBA is very limited, which is why we wanted to bring you on here, Angel, because, we had talked over the years. And by the way, I just want to go ahead and introduce Angel. Angel is a friend of mine that I met through a mutual friend of ours. The mutual friend of ours, and it's okay. I've already talked to him that it's okay for me to say his name.
Hold on, let me get my bell. Eddie about to name drop.
So JJ Stokes, formerly of the UCLA Bruins, formerly of the San Francisco 49ers, Jacksonville Jaguars, New England Patriots. He's a friend of mine, and he's the one who introduced me to Angel years ago. And actually, JJ and Angel's husband, James, played in an adult basketball league. And, unfortunately, JJ blew out his patella tendon playing in that league because, he was, it's been a while since he played, but he did. And, he healed up and he said, no, I'm retiring from basketball. But from what I understand, he could have been a hell of a basketball player besides just football player. But I think his scholarship wouldn't have let him play basketball, just only football. So anyway, that's how Angel and I met, is through JJ. This is like maybe 10 or 11 years ago. And we've had, we're in each other's fantasy. I'm in their fantasy football league, and we had our draft last night. So it's a Johnson affair in that fantasy football league. It's her husband, her kid, her mom. It's like dominating by the Johnsons, this league. So anyway, I wanted to go ahead and have Angel introduce herself. Kind of talk about, her background a little bit, mainly about her basketball background, because I think it's a pretty interesting background, Angel, about, how you got into basketball and, where you could have gone and why you decided not to go there and so forth. So it'd be great if you can go ahead and just kind of tell the audience about who you are.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on the show. And a few things that you guys said that I have to hit on first. And then, yes, I'll tell you the whole story. First, you said NBA won the gold. You're right. WNBA won the gold, too. So
that's true.
Got to give our props to both
teams.
you.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yes.
And JJ, in that league that he played in with my husband broke his leg also. So that's when he hung up his shoes and didn't play anymore. But since then, JJ's actually now the godfather of our youngest son. So yeah, and then Eddie, we're always at each other's houses, and my mother kicks your butt in fantasy football every year.
Why do you have to tell everybody that? Come on, man.
Just a couple nuggets.
She does.
But yeah, I'll tell you a little bit, little history about myself in basketball. It wasn't like I was born with a ball in my hand, but it was, tall. My dad is he's 6'7". My mother is really short. Eddie knows my mom. She's really short. She's like 5'1", 5'2". So I capped out at 5'9", which was really tall for back in the day for myself. And I started playing softball. And then when my parents split, my mother took my little brother and I to Virginia. They just didn't have the softball leagues in Virginia that I was used to playing on. And so, mother looked at me and was like, look, you're tall, you're athletic, you're gonna do something. And if softball is not quite it anymore, you got to find something. So she forced me into playing basketball. I absolutely was horrendous at first.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. I don't know if you know this part of the story, Eddie, but yeah, I was 12 years old, had never touched a ball before, and she puts me on an AAU team in Virginia, and this AAU team was really good. Yeah. And so, a couple practices in, the coach basically said, "Yeah, you could join the team. I think we could use your height. Just got to get you better, and you might not play much. And the team is only as good as its weakest player." Is the thing he said. And when he said that, I saw a few of my teammates turn and look at me. And I was like, oh, I'm the weakest player? I was like, oh no, way too competitive for this. So mother bought me a basketball goal, and I would be outside. Like as soon as class was over, I would just go outside and make layups, shoot free throws. I was doing anything to get better. The very first game I played in, I drove down the court, got it open because I was really fast. So I got down the court real fast with the ball, and then threw the ball so hard off the backboard, it went all the way to the half court. And I heard the gasp in the crowd, and I was like, oh, I'm really bad. So I was just always outside, trying to get better, trying to just make sure I wasn't going to be the weakest player. Right. And I went from being absolutely horrible to, by the time, and this was 7th grade, I kid you not, by the time 8th grade was wrapping up, I had 3 college letters.
Did you really? When you were in 8th grade?
8th grade. I had 3 college letters. I still have them, Eddie. Yes, I still have them. I had 3 college letters of interest. And this was back when they sent letters. They don't send letters anymore. Yeah, that's different now. JJ actually educated me on what they do.
You get an email now.
Yeah, you get followed on Instagram. That's their way of telling you they're interested and they're recruiting you.
Oh, no way.
Yeah. So totally different for our kids. But I got a letter in the mail that said the University of, and fill in the blank, and we saw you at this tournament. So I had 3 letters by the end of my 8th grade year, and in 8th grade they sent a special bus to my middle school to pick me up, to take me to the high school to play on their varsity team starting in 8th grade. So I played on varsity 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th.
No way. You were a 5-year varsity player.
Yeah. But they didn't I didn't start in 8th grade. I got to play a lot on the JV team. So I got to play on both. Right. And they didn't keep a lot of my stats. They didn't start keeping up my stats until I was in 9th grade. So I really kind of wish they did, because of course, going back to that competitive nature, by the time I got to my junior year, I broke the female scoring record at my high school. I had scored 1,157 points by my junior year. And then by my senior year, I broke the boys' all-time scoring record, which my neighbor held at the time. He had just broken it. And then because he was 1 year ahead of me. So he had just gone off to college to play basketball, and I came right behind him my senior year and broke the all-time boys record at 1,354 points. And my ball still sits in the gym in a glass case. And I was heavily recruited all over the country, major universities.
No way. I never knew this, Angel. I mean, I've known you for 12 years, and this is the first time I've heard of this. I mean, geez, that's amazing.
I'm curious. Couple questions. For softball, what position did you play in softball?
I was a catcher.
I was so you had footwork in your because a catcher's got to have pretty decent footwork. especially if you're people trying to steal or you're throwing people out at first.
Yep.
That was the first thing that I thought. I bet she was a catcher. That was the first. And then when you ended up, playing for varsity, what position did you play in on the basketball team?
So back then, this is different now, but back then, being 5'9", I was tall. So I was a post player, going all the way until my junior year, when colleges were looking at me and they were starting to, the girls were growing and being, just different height than this 5'9" tall post player. I started getting a lot of college scouts telling me that I needed to turn around and face the basket. And so I was like, okay, let's do that then. And so got to start getting a jumper, and not always doing the layups and the spin moves or the hook shots.
Yes, the hook shots. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yep.
So Angel, so let me ask you this. So when you started doing face-up basketball, I'm sure there were players that stood out to you that you were looking up to at the time, that you wanted to mimic your game after. Was there anybody that stood out for you and you thought maybe your game was closest to at that time, and when you're in high school and getting recruited?
Well, okay, and this goes to age me a bit. It wasn't like when I was in high school that there was a WNBA. There was the professional women's team at the time, or the league, was ABL.
Yep.
And so at the same time that ABL was starting and kind of getting kicked off, the NBA was starting the creation of the WNBA around that same year, 1996, which is when I was still in high school. So it was hard to emulate anyone that I was seeing on TV or whatnot, because I just wasn't. And back to that competitive nature, I wasn't watching TV. I literally was watching my game. Like I was like, when it would get dark outside, didn't have street lights, I would have my mother turn on her car lights and shine it at the basketball goal so I could keep shooting. So I didn't even watch TV. Super naive, because by the time I did go to college and all my friends were like watching sports, I was like, who is that, right? But then the WNBA, like right when I got to college, WNBA was becoming a thing, and my friends that were like 1 year ahead of me and whatnot were starting to go to it. Or I'd have teammates who would have best friends playing in it, and we'd go sit courtside for $20. Washington Mystics. I think it was Washington Mystics back then. I would sit courtside for $20. And I was like, this is not okay. And then before actually going off to college and doing all of that, I ended up having a friend. So I grew up in Charlottesville, Virginia. That's where I moved my little brother and I, which is where the University of Virginia is. Okay. And the University of Virginia had, great NBA players come out of it. Great at the time. They had a really great NCAA run for men and women. It was just wonderful. Dawn Staley played on the team at the time. And one of my close friends that I got connected with, and she would bring me up to the college all the time because she was a few years ahead of me. I was in high school in the town, was Monique Foote. She was like the post player for the University of Virginia basketball team. And she'd have me up there all the time, just hanging out with the WNBA players. So to answer the question, like, I saw Monique Foote and I saw her in the flesh, and I saw her passion for the game and the extra things that they would do after practice, or even her roommate, Dawn Staley. Like it wasn't like I knew and anticipated like Dawn is going to go and do all these great things. Had no idea. In the time, there's just another person, and I'm hanging with her all the time, and she's she's Monique Foote's suite mate. And so I had like all their phone numbers and text them all the time, and got to see the extra work that they put in. So at the time, I just wanted to be just like Monique Foote. That's who I wanted to emulate my game after. She was 6 feet tall and post player. And so at the time, I was like, all her moves, I was like trying to figure out all her moves and do her moves, because I was like, then I would definitely land a full-time scholarship at one of these big schools if I could just emulate my game after her. Right. Not realizing how big her roommate and her suite mate, Dawn Staley, was eventually going to be. Now, Dawn, I had her number, and we would text for years after that, all the way until I moved to California for grad school, when I decided not to go to the WNBA myself. And then I, switched phones, lost her number, and I was like, oh my gosh, like biggest star ever now. I'm sure she doesn't even remember me anymore. But for years, got to text her and just keep up with her and watch her career But yeah, and never once did I try to emulate her game, or could I even say that mine was like hers. I always wanted to be like one of her teammates. But in the WNBA, when it finally became a thing, and you had these players that were just incredible. Back when you said Cheryl Miller,
right?
If you remember Cynthia Cooper, Cheryl Swoops.
Cheryl Swoops, yep.
Yeah,
Lisa Leslie.
Yes, these are just like incredible women that made it possible. You got to see yourself as a female basketball player. Like, you got to see that there was options and opportunities, that you could go further than just getting a free education, because that was really the biggest part that was pushed back when I was, coming up. It was go get that free education, get someone to pay for you to go play basketball for their university. And then every now and then I have someone say, you know what, Angel, you could be the first girl to ever play in the NBA. And I'd be like, I don't know if I'm tall enough.
Wait. So you had some game there, Angel. You had some game if they're saying that. That's legit.
So I'm curious, when you first started and you were perceiving yourself as the worst person on the team, like your competitive spirit wouldn't allow that. At what point, or did the competitive spirit change to love of basketball? I assume at some point you just loved basketball and it wasn't even competitive anymore. It was just you getting better on your game.
Yeah, I would say it was somewhere within that first year when I actually saw myself getting better. And I went from being the last person to be picked off the bench to starting. And it happened literally within a year of me first even touching a basketball. And it's kind of like I just had a moment where I looked back at the beginning of that year, and I was like, wow, I've really come a long way. And all this extra work that I'm putting in is paying off. Right. This can actually take me somewhere. And you take that just like a few months after that year, it was like a year and a half into me first picking up a basketball, and I got that first college letter. Love right then, because it was this satisfaction of all my hard work can actually pay off. And I didn't expect a college letter. I didn't know, there was not one other person on my team that had ever gotten one. At that point in my age, 8th grade, no one had gotten that. Now my son just entered 9th grade, and he has teammates, both football and basketball, that have already gotten full scholarship offers in 7th grade before they even played a high school game. So it's a little bit different now, and different for boys, but for girls, like, this was huge for me.
Yeah, no, that it's huge. It'd be huge for anyone. So how was it with your teammates? Where you were kind of maybe the worst to all of a sudden becoming the best. Did you feel supported by your team? Was there anything like, were they like, hey, how come you're so special, or anything like that? How was that journey?
Yeah, no, super supportive. It could have been the character of the girls that were on the squad. They were definitely hyping me up, so that was helping. And I think they were grateful to have an extra person on the team that was actually benefiting them. And to the coach's point, you didn't want to be the worst person on the team. And I went from being that worst person to way better than that. I can't say I was the best. I don't want to say that. Right. If any of those girls are watching, they're still my friends to this day. But I definitely was a starter. And we went from being on this trajectory of playing in local tournaments to now qualifying for nationals, which was big back then. I've just learned how nationals for AAU is one of many circuits that you could go on to be seen and college coaches come to. But when I played back then, it was only AAU nationals. Like, that is the goal. That's what you're going after. And if you make it to that, you're the best of the best in the country for girls and boys back then. And so we went from not even qualifying for nationals, not even going to tournaments, and to when I started starting on the team, we started making it to nationals. Now, we didn't make it very far in nationals. We get there and we're like, oh, this is really different. This is like, we needed some.
You weren't the tallest on the court anymore. You were all of a sudden, you're like, what's going on? Where'd all these giants come from?
Yeah. I don't know where we were breeding those girls at the time, but I was like, whoa, okay, this is different.
So Angel, so let me ask you this. So you were talking about getting these letters from colleges when you were in 8th grade. These first letters that you got, was that one of the colleges you ultimately selected, or which college did you select and why?
Yeah, I ended up not selecting any of those colleges. So I'll tell you this. Do you know those bins, the really big bins that people get maybe in the winter months to put their holiday decorations in, or jackets when it's starting to get warm? You get those really big bins from like a big box store. So those bins, we had to start buying those because throughout my high school career, I was getting so many letters that we didn't have a place to store them. Yeah. And our mailman couldn't fit them day by day. He couldn't fit them in our mailbox. He would wrap them in rubber bands and just set them on the porch. It would be like a stack this big every day. It started becoming overwhelming. No, I didn't choose. And now, mind you, I went on collegiate visits when it was time and I was allowed to. I would go to all the big colleges. I'd have to play. It was always the same routine. And so I'm not sure if they still do it this way now, but you go, you would play pickup with the current women's team at that university while they take your parents away and talk to them about scholarships. They watch a little bit of how you engage and play, and then they go talk about the scholarship. And then you take your shower, come out and decide, like, do I want to go here? Do I not? How was the scholarship offer that they offered? Did I play well enough? All that stuff. Right. So I did all those visits and whatnot. And it was tough. It was tough, not in the game. I think I always played well and definitely got offered from many of these big schools. But it was really the recruit visit and the girls in the locker room and the things that they would say that turned me off. Oh. And so I was like, nope. I'd come out, my mom would be like, yes, they just offered you something. You played well. Want to go here? And I'd be like, nope. Oh, wow. Okay. So I said no to many colleges, mostly because of the camaraderie that was happening in the locker room after I played.
And you felt the negative vibe, like there was no camaraderie.
Yeah, no camaraderie or aggression. With the the hazing would start, and I'm not even there yet. Yeah, it was. Okay. Or they would tell me what the hazing is going to be, and they were just letting me know, being very transparent. Like, if you come here, this is what's going to happen. Oh, wow. Okay. They would be very open and transparent. And I was like, well, then, because all I want to do is play basketball. Back to Tom's point, I love the game. I just wanted to play. I did not want any of the drama that came with it. And so
it feels like at this point you were finding that your current high school team, the camaraderie and the experience was a lot better than maybe what you were experiencing in the college circuit at this point.
Yeah, during the recruit visits, I'd say the high school and the AAU teams, because by the time I got to my senior year, I switched and went to an even better AAU team. And which was hard. Like, I did it because I knew I needed to, I needed to surround myself my senior year with even greater talent. And there was teams pluck good talent. And I had said no for so long. And finally my senior year, I went to it. But even all that camaraderie was phenomenal with all those teams. And then the recruit visits, I was like, whoa, can we just play basketball? Like, why is that not the focus? And so, yeah, passion and love, that's when it really started hitting my heart that I just want to play. And I want to be with people who want to play, not infuse all these other things into it, like the hazing and the aggression that they would show during the recruit visits. I just wasn't down for it. And finally went to a university that was a small D1 school, Longwood University. So that's where Jerome Kersey. Okay. Yep. Jerome Kersey went there for the NBA, for NBA. Yeah. Okay. And I go there.
Great. Yes.
Yeah, he was so great.
He was.
Passed.
Yes, he passed. Yeah, but he used to kill the Warriors from Portland, man.
Yeah, he did.
He used to kill us.
Yep.
Everything in my life is from the perspective of the Warriors.
The Warriors, right? Yeah.
I remember. I'm like, I like this dude. Can he go away now, please?
Well, he went to Longwood University in Farmville, Virginia. Farmville. That name speaks for itself. There's nothing there. And so we go there and I do all the same things that I just explained that I did at my other recruit visits. We get into the locker room and everybody's just getting dressed, doing their thing, walking away. And I was like, you guys aren't even talking about hazing. Oh,
wow.
I kind of poke and prod. I was like, so what are you doing after this? And where are you going? And they were just like, yeah, we play ball, then we move on. And then we're going to get back together later and play some more ball. And I was like, yes, this is it. This is it. So yeah, felt and I got a full ride. Yeah.
Well, kudos to you. I mean, because you're still relatively young and you had the the wherewithal to start identifying these things? I mean, I think most people would have been so overwhelmed by just being around what you would consider elite athletes that you don't even think about those things. You're like, oh, look at this name school. I just want to have this name logo on my back, you know? And so kudos to you for kind of seeing beyond that and going, this experience is not going to be good. At least not initially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I knew that I didn't have it in my heart to be that same person that once I became a junior or senior, to do that to recruits coming in or to freshmen. I was just like, it's just not my character. I just want the best athletes to come to that same school and play ball. So yeah.
So now, did you experience the same kind of recruiting activity or similar when you were in Longwood to go to a professional league in the, maybe the WNBA or another league at that time?
Yeah, that's a good question. When I hit my senior year at Longwood, I did get a letter. I got another letter. It was typed out and the header and all the things from the WNBA, and they were asking me to enter my name into the draft. And because I had just observed everything Dawn Staley had gone through, which she was still going through, like she had played and in the WNBA, but then in the off season, her and all her friends and whatnot would have to go overseas and play internationally to close the financial gap in order to even afford a 1-bedroom apartment. And this is not just her, it was like other friends of mine or people that I knew that played, and they had friends that had gone, everybody had the same story, that they had to go overseas and play in the off season. So when I got that letter, I was torn because I was like, the dream, like I could go do it, but then I won't make any money. I'll go and not even be able to afford a 1-bedroom apartment. And so I'm gonna tell you the trigger for me that made me say no and just not enter my name in the draft. It was stories that were being told by Dawn and friends and others that would go overseas in the off season. And they said, your personality matters. So your personality type. So if you are an extrovert, like I am, I'm off the chart extrovert. They were like, it's going to be really tough for you because you could end up in a country where you don't speak the language of your teammates.
Right. And
each one of those countries are only allowed to have so many Americans on their team. So it might just be 2 or 3 Americans that could be on the team. If you land on one of those teams and they only have like 1 or 2, you're stuck with just that person. But if that other person is also not off the chart extrovert like you are, if they're an introvert, it's heaven for them because the language barrier alone is so impactful that the teammates, even if doing so unintentionally, forget to invite the Americans to certain activities, like if they're going to go out to eat after practice or get together and have drinks or just hang out, they don't even think to invite the Americans. The language barrier is too intense. So if you're an introvert, fine. You probably didn't want to be invited anyway. You're good. You get to go back to the place that they provide for you and you get your book and get to be by yourself and you're good. But if you're off the chart extrovert or anywhere near on that extrovert pendulum,
right,
you're pretty miserable over there. And I knew, I was like, this is not, I'll go over there and I won't be happy. I played on an international team my junior year of high school. I got to go to Austria, Amsterdam, Germany, and there's one other country. And I got to represent America playing overseas, and I loved it. But I was with so many other extroverts, so like outside of the court, we would always be doing stuff. And I knew, but we all spoke English, and which was fun. I just realized in college, for those who had gone on, it was like, this is my profession. And 6 months out of the year, they were playing, for another country, and it worked. It works for introverts. It can work, and you come back for 6 months and you play in the WNBA, and then for the other 6 months you go overseas. So that was the case back then when you would sit courtside, bringing this back full circle for $20 in the WNBA. Back then, also the NBA was carrying the WNBA, and there was even rumors. Of course, I'm so glad this never happened, but there were a rumor mill back then that the WNBA was going to shut down as soon as it started because the NBA was carrying all the bills for so many years for them, paying their salaries, just because they weren't getting the attention. Now you've got, look at Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. You've got celebrities sitting courtside. You cannot get a courtside ticket to any game for $20 now.
Yeah.
And it's just this year. It's like finally happening, which is so exciting.
So quick question on in your opinion, or as far as you know, how much did the social bond impact your play on the court? So not only would you have been kind of emotionally distraught, do you think that would have reflected in your game as well? Like you would have been a poorer player?
Well, that's a really good question. Possibly, because you think about locker room drama and how it plays out on the court or the field, or those of us who just watch sports and then we're just like, what's going on with that team, or why they get rid of that player?
And then why doesn't A pass to B or B pass to A? Yeah.
Very much so. And I would say collegiately, I dealt with a little bit of that. Even though I chose the college that I thought was best for me, coming in as a freshman, I started as a freshman in college, which is also just incredibly unheard of. And so the senior that was ahead of me, life was hard that freshman year. And I can't say it was hazing or anything like that, but she definitely let me know how unhappy she was with the fact that I was there and starting as a freshman. And she didn't start as a freshman when she was there, but she was older, right? And so I had to deal with that. And when we were on the court together, I did question moments of decision making, like, she didn't pass me the ball, I wonder. And like that play was meant for in that moment, you had to give it to me, but you didn't. You do. These things do play out, whether consciously or subconsciously.
You're not comfortable. You're not feeling 100% in your flow. I mean, egos play a big, especially in sports, everyone has an ego, some greater than others. And the better you are, the more ego you have, typically.
For sure.
So I could see, that impact. So I was curious because, I think it would have impacted your play. I mean, I think you would have been, obviously distraught, just kind of not being able to communicate or having the same social kind of connections that you had before. But I'm thinking it would have impacted me. Like that I would say.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. And same here. It would have for me as well. You probably don't know this about me, Angel, but I'm an emotional creature. I can be when it's prompted. So when it's something like that comes around, that'll affect me. Probably just get me more pissed off, and then try and play harder and just try and take people out. But it does have an impact on your play. At least for me, it did. So
I've seen a pissed off Eddie a couple of times in my life, and it's not something you want to see.
I've never seen Eddie even upset.
Well, it takes a lot, Angel. It takes a lot.
I'll give you a funny story. So Eddie and I used to play at the local gyms, and we used to play one by kind of our neighborhood called Glen Park. And we'd go out there, and the way that it worked is you'd go on the court, and if people would either run 5-on-5s on baby full courts, right? Not the full version, but the half version, or you'd run 3-on-3s. And so we were running I believe we were running a 3-on-3. And we're playing, and there's this tall guy. He was tall, but he was thin. But I'm going to say he was maybe 6'5", 6'4", something like that. And he wasn't very good. And Eddie's always been a big guy. He's always been Big Ed. And he would work him in the low blocks. The guy just couldn't stop Eddie. Eddie's going to go where he wants to go, and the guy didn't know how to utilize his length to kind of keep him from scoring. So the guy kept fouling Eddie and fouling Eddie and fouling Eddie. And then he started complaining that you're doing this, and he's going at it. And Eddie's pretty patient. I mean, Eddie's a patient guy. And this is going on for 10, 15 points. And at one point, Eddie that's it. You see it in his face. I could see it. He just dude, that's it. He looks at him and he goes, that's enough. Shut up. And then the guy's like, what are you going to do about it? And so then Eddie turns and he grabs him. I don't know if I can get it on camera, like where your arm folds right here. On both sides, and he pins him to the wall, and the guy can't move. I mean, the guy he's sitting there on the wall, like, let me go. The most harmless position I've ever, and I'm just looking, going, Eddie, just don't kill him. Just don't kill him, Eddie. And he goes, calm down, dude. Calm down now. He's like, telling him, and I'm like, oh, I'm not messing with Eddie.
Angel, that's something about me. And, you pointed out that you rarely see me pissed off. My wife's never really seen me pissed off, right? It happens it's a rare occasion. And the thing is that I'm as easygoing gets. But certain things will trigger me. And it's very rare, but usually like a personal attack, someone talking smack over and over again, just getting under my skin. Those are my triggers, big time. And that's when it comes out. You see this different version of me that you normally don't see. But it doesn't happen that often. It's happened to me 4 or 5 times in my life, right? And Twan happened to see one of those times. So it's not often.
No,
so
it's not often. That look in his face, I was like, oh, we're in trouble.
Nice. So Angel, so let me ask you, going back to your playing career. So you could have played in the WNBA if you had decided to go into the draft. It sounded like but you elected not to. And the main reason why you elected not to had to do with what you heard from other people having to supplement their career by playing elsewhere to make ends meet. Was that the driving force as why you didn't do that? Why you didn't join it?
100%. Yeah. And I knew I didn't want to financially struggle. And I heard and saw, sometimes we'd get together occasionally, just whenever folks would be around and in town, we'd get together and like go to someone's place and they'd be like, no, like you're on TV and this is the best that you got right now because of how little they were making.
Right.
So they have, and I even, some of this stuff is like public knowledge. You can Google it right now. Where like how much they were making and how much the best people's like Lisa Leslie's were making. So, how tall she is and the shoe deals she got, which those weren't an abundance for women back then. It was mostly for men. And so those shoe deals got you a little bit more. And it was like, you'll really make big money if you got a shoe deal. And I was like, who's gonna give the 5'9" person from Longwood University a shoe deal? Like, do you know how much more extra I'm gonna have to do out there to even be seen and noticed? And so I just, it was, and then even the shoe deal, once you actually saw what they made, it was like, it still is nowhere near like what men make. It's nowhere near it. I think the max was like $40,000. I was like, I don't know. I think I can go to grad school and get a PhD and make way more than they're making. And they're on TV. I get to see them when I turn on the television. And I could go to grad school and make more than that. And that's the mental math that I did and the decision that I had to make because I just didn't want to financially struggle.
So after college, you didn't play basketball anymore after college. You decided to go down the path of education.
Yeah, I did, but I didn't do it professionally. I didn't do it overseas.
You just played like pick up and having fun kind of thing.
I did. Yeah, I did little leagues, us adults. Yeah. And we still got it. And we would join.
Yeah, I like that. You can't take me, youngin'. I still own you.
So that brings us to the segue that when you first we can see on your name here you have Dr. J. Yeah. So it sounds like you went to graduate school after you went to this Longwood school. And then you went to go ahead and it sounds like you probably got even a doctorate after that, which is why you probably have Dr. J. So tell us about how you got this name.
Yes. I went to grad school, moved to California because I got into the school that I wanted to get into. So it was a school called Alliance International University. And the grad program was the California School of Professional Psychology. Oh. Organizational psychology is what I went after, got my PhD in that. So I got the master's, I got accepted into a PhD program where the first 2 years you're working on your master's. And as soon as you walk that stage, literally the next week after getting your master's degree, you start your PhD classes and start working on your dissertation for the next 2 years. So within 4 years after getting a bachelor's degree, I had a PhD in psychology, organizational psychology. So it's like corporate psych. And fast forward, I've been in quite a few companies where people strategy, like basically solving people problems is what organizational psychology is, but at a corporate level. So moving that big ship, culturally, diversity, equity, inclusion stuff, things like that. Yep. And so fast forward, I've been at Charles Schwab, startup IT companies in the Bay Area, Facebook before they were Meta. I was there when we changed the name to Meta for quite a few years as an executive. And between Facebook and where I am now, which is at Google as an executive, in between those, I was a chief people officer for a fintech company in New York. And this fintech company, the CEO, which the CEO is my boss, he's from Australia. And the company started in Australia before he expanded over to the US and picked up in New York, the region that he picked up. So he knows American basketball, and he knew about my story when he was interviewing me about the fact that I played and that I had moved on from playing and, got a PhD in psychology. And he was like, so you're a doctor? And I was like, yeah, I'm a doctor. And he was like Dr. J. He was like, and he's from Australia, so I love this accent. He's like, Dr. J, you're Dr. J, and it just stuck. So even my youngest son, he'll walk around the house and just walk up to me and be like, Dr. J, can I have a snack? And be like, stop.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah, I've moved on to now Google, and all my peeps at Google call me Dr. J.
So that's what you're known as, Dr. J.
And the only thing I can think of, I'll poke a little fun at you here. It's like, hey, we're going to introduce you to Dr. J, and they're going to come in and meet you and go,
yeah,
wait a minute, that's the wrong Dr. J.
Not who you thought I was. I'll tell you what, I had a mean hook shot back in the day.
There you go.
Hey, you got to teach your kids the hook shot, because it's the most indefensible shot. Even though it doesn't look cool, you can't defend it. All right, we know that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar made a career out of that, and nobody else seems to have done it. So it's good to go ahead and teach your kids that.
Magic had a little baby hook for a while, but yeah.
You see Brandon Pajemski do the same thing. So real quick, audience, we are live. All right, we do the show live because we want to hear your comments. We want to go ahead and get your questions. Angel Johnson is going to be a guest for us on occasion when we talk about WNBA. The purpose for today's podcast is just to introduce and give the background of Angel Johnson, who's going to be a guest on an ongoing basis when we talk about WNBA. So just to kind of promote this, Phil X, back to the Stone Age. He's like, hey, the most masculine of luchadores. Sounds like Eddie is pimping some alpha energy right there. Viva la raza, homie. Hey, Phil X, thanks for coming out here, man. I appreciate your support. And back to the Stone Age, keep them coming. So anyway, that's what we're here for, is to go ahead and go live. We're going to do this from here on out. We're going to do this every 2 weeks. So our next show is going to be on September 18th. And then the one after that, we're probably going to go into a preview about the NBA. For the preseason will be coming up there shortly. So, but anyway, the whole purpose is for us to talk about Angel and her background, and also get her perspective on the WNBA, what she did as far as, back when she was playing. But now the segue to the current WNBA. So Angel, now you've been following WNBA, of course, since you were back in 8th grade or at the time, and it would be great to get your perspective as to the first question I'll ask you is the current health of the WNBA. I think Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese definitely have helped stimulate that, right? It's a good rivalry between them two. You also have Cameron Brink, but she's been hurt, right? And she hasn't really showcased all that she can do. At least I don't know if she's back or not. But so this class has definitely infused a lot of interest for the general public about the WNBA, and it's hot. I got to tell you, my brother-in-law follows Caitlin Clark closely, and he came over here and he wanted to watch the Fever play. And I had never seen Caitlin Clark play. I got to tell you, that girl has got some game. I was like, whoa, this girl is, I thought, okay, this girl's hype because I've never seen her, right? And then, then I saw her play. I'm like, oh, man, she's got mad skills. I mean, she's like Steph Curry, like the way she shoots, the way she passes. I mean, she passes better than Curry, in my opinion. But she's amazing. But yet the turnovers show up because I don't think the players are really, they're not expecting that pass coming to them at that, in the way she's doing it. So it would be great to get your perspective on the current state of the WNBA. Maybe some of the players that you gravitate to would be great. And then also maybe some of your all-time greats from the WNBA standpoint, who you think are. So that'd be great. The health.
You're throwing a lot at her.
A lot. I love it. So let's see. I'll start with a player that I just loved growing, like as I was transitioning into college. She was my age. We were selected together to represent the East. This was back our senior years. Is Kara Lawson. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with Kara, but
Yeah.
she ended up playing in the WNBA as well. And she's like a broadcaster. And I think she's the Duke Blue Devils head coach now. But yeah, Kara, phenomenal. She played for University of Tennessee. And when we both got selected, so we played AAU against each other growing up. And then when we both got selected for that West team, and I got to see the extra things she was doing, like in the weight room with the boys, like she had to lift with the boys, best selected team from the East. I was just like, wow, you're strong. You're way stronger than like my little skinny, like she was like built. And of course I see why she went to University of Tennessee. And then you fast forward and I see some of these players now and I'm like, it just gets better and better. We also get taller and taller. This was not the case when I was in college. Like our tallest player was like 6'1", 6'2". And even at that, I was like, man, you were super tall. Now 6'1", you're a guard. You're a guard if you're 6'1". 5'9", I'm a point guard. Like,
right.
I'm not even a shooting guard at this
time. A pass first point guard.
Yeah. I know Caitlin Clark, like she is phenomenal at that pass first, but just like the NBA, that first round draft pick, who gets to select that? The worst team in the NBA. Same with the WNBA. She kind of went to the worst team. So yeah, she's surrounded by players who she's a little bit frustrated with, and that comes out, with all the cameras on you. And yeah, you're going to end up with way more turnovers. But if she had a cast of characters around her that were way more skilled, just imagine what she could do. Angel Reese, as far as the health of WNBA, that whole bond of them two coming in, that class, I think literally changed the game for the WNBA. And what I think was my own opinion here, what I think what the triggering factor was the drama that was created year before they came in. Drama between them. That did it, right? Because by the time it was their now senior year and it was time for them to play again, all of the rumor mill that was out there, everything that was being talked about on social media was like those two girls from last year that had the drama, they're about to play against each other. Like, even if you didn't know their names, you're about to get to know their names, just because of the social media presence that was happening with the two of them. So
yeah. I see some parallels between them and Larry Bird and Magic Johnson. When they first came in the NBA, the NBA was not in the best health at the time, and they sparked that that interest in the NBA at that time. I see the parallel with that as well. As far as the rivalry between the two.
I agree. I don't know. You're significantly younger than we are, Angel, but before Magic and Bird, if you wanted to watch the NBA championship, it was recorded. You watched the recorded version that played 11 o'clock at night or after the news was done. And that's when you watched the NBA championship. Yeah, that was like not televised live. And this is the championship, mind you. And so there was, that's the state, of the league. And at that sense, in terms of the culture, it was a mostly black league. There was a culture kind of acceptance piece of it. And then Larry and Magic showed up, and they, similar to Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, they had a rivalry at in college, Michigan State and Indiana State, and they carried over. So there are a lot of similarities, quite exciting to see for me. And I hope that the league is able to, the WNBA is able to catapult this into just growth and more. And this isn't just an oddball, like scenario. It's something that dies in a year or two. I want it to continue.
Yeah,
I agree. So, Angel, I know I cut you off by interjecting that, but I know that one of the questions I wanted to ask you is that some of the players that that stand out for you as the best WNBA players in your perspective. Could be now, it could be historical. Just wanted to get your take on some of the players that really stick out for you as far as maybe the best of all time that you've seen.
Best of all time. I have to give props to Diana Taurasi.
Yeah.
She's been in that league. She's my age and she's still playing.
Yeah.
And not only playing, made the Olympic team, won another gold medal, like phenomenal. I have to give props to her for sure. Candace Parker, I love I know she just recently retired, but I love her. But I would say the ones that are in the league now that are like playing today, Caitlin Clark was just on TV right before this podcast started. And everybody in my household, we have the WNBA League Pass. Like everybody was hovering around TV because you just don't want to miss a game with her or Angel Reese or Asia Wilson. Did you see Asia? I don't know if you saw her yesterday.
She's balling, man.
42 points.
She's balling. Yes.
She's amazing. And Angel Reese is she's like the most double doubles by a rookie ever in WNBA history. Like these players are incredible.
So fiery too. She's so fiery. I love it.
Yep, me too. I like it.
Kelsey Plum, like her energy there. She's so fun to watch. I mean, this crew that is in there right now, and I think the thing that also helps, and I want to say this in the kindest way possible, the fact that they're able to be and encouraged to be their authentic selves when they're off the court, and that there's cameras on them highlighting whatever look they're rocking and wearing. That's never really been the case before. Even last year before, like where were cameras following them as they walked in with their cute little purses, or they had on a club outfit as they were walking in before they played their game. I love that they're encouraged and that you have feminine looking and masculine looking, and it's fun. Look, whatever your authentic
the whole spectrum's covered. Yep.
Yes, everything is covered, and everyone gets to be their authentic self, and cameras are on them and highlighting it and celebrating it. And that's the part that I absolutely love about this class, and the fact that the media is supporting them and their look, whatever that look is, on and off the court. Yeah. All those names, like every single one of them have a completely different look and style. Angel, Caitlin, Asia, Jonquel, she looks totally different. Kelsey Plum, they all just totally different look. They're all their authentic selves, and they play incredible basketball when they step on that court. Yeah. There's so many other greats like Skylar. Do you guys remember Skylar Diggins?
Yep.
She was phenomenal. I used to imagine that was me out there. I was like, that's kind of how I played, right? And I look at my husband. He's like, you're right. Like he always encouraged me. Sue Bird was phenomenal.
Yeah. Sue Bird, yes.
Do you guys remember Tina Thompson? I don't know if you guys know this. So Tina Thompson played in that transition of ABL to WNBA. So I can't remember which league she played at the time, but dark red lipstick was her calling card. Really bright red lipstick. And nobody else played with makeup or fake hair or cute eyelashes. Now they all are out there looking, however they want to look, with whatever fakeness they want to have on. But the only person back in the day, and she was a big post player, she, broad shoulders, like she was kind of like the Charles Barkley on the board.
Okay.
Tina was, but with bright, like, can you imagine Charles Barkley?
No, I can't.
That's the visual. I like this. Yeah,
that's a scary sight. Yeah. Hey, Chuck, if you happen to be watching this on TNT, I need to see some bright red lipstick.
Where's some lipsticks?
Yes.
The Tina Thompson,
that would be hilarious.
Bullying people in the post, though.
Yes.
With her bright red lipstick. But yeah, really great. There's so many great. Chelsea Gray and Brittany Griner. I mean, I can't leave Brittany out.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Right. So many great.
So given what Asia's doing right now, would you say that she's on the trajectory of being possibly the greatest WNBA player of all time? I mean, she's balling.
I don't know. It's so hard to say.
It's so hard to project, but it's just more just playing around. We can probably look at some of the players in the NBA and play this game too. Like, okay, who do we see as an all-time great? Even from the young class, right? I mean, it's just more.
Yeah, you and I did it. We did it. We were picking kind of the next base.
Who?
I went with Anthony Edwards. I think Anthony Edwards is the guy that is, although he said a couple of comments in the last couple of weeks regarding, nobody else had skill in Jordan's era, which rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. But, that I feed to his ego. He's got an ego, and
he's got swagger.
Yeah.
He's got good swagger. He's not one of these punks, right? He's just like a good, he's playing and he's having fun, but he's saying that I'm the best guy out here, but he's playful about it. And I like that.
Yeah,
so
I agree.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you something. Given your PhD and kind of the psychology behind, early on. I mean, I haven't, to be honest, I don't know if the media around this has died down a little bit, but Caitlin Clark was getting a lot of hate, early in her career. It didn't seem like she was getting support. I saw a couple games where it didn't even seem like her own teammates were kind of backing her up, and she was kind of on an island. I just wanted your thought around that. What do you think is going on there? I'm not clear. I mean, especially, as we mentioned, she seems to be bringing the league into a whole new territory in terms of popularity and financial gain. So I've always been a little confused as to why they're not. I mean, they don't have to kiss her butt, for lack of a better word, but they should be supportive of what she's doing to the league. And for a while, it just didn't seem like that was the case.
Well, Twan, I'm going to say haters are going to hate.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, they're going to. I mean, there were equal amount of haters out there for Angel Reese. It just depends on which side you were on. This is the one thing, Eddie, I feel like I told you this story once, but I have to definitely share it here. I got to spend some time just a few months ago in Georgia at a Nike EYBL tournament, which is my oldest son plays for a Nike circuit team. And some of the parents, we all had an Airbnb together. And one of the dads that was in the Airbnb, he is an AAU girls basketball coach. So he only coaches girls, although he has a son that plays basketball with my son on this Nike elite team. He only coaches girls. And he's been coaching AAU girls for many years. And he's had Angel Reese on his team when she played for one of the Texas teams. That's one of the teams that he coaches. She's been on this team, but then people aren't loyal to any one AAU team. Anyways, bounced all around. And he said one time his AAU team was now playing against Angel Reese. And she runs down the court, stops and looks at him as the coach, her old coach, and looks at him and goes, "Coach, do you have anybody on this team that can guard me?"
Nice.
And at this point, she already had 30 points at this point. And the game was and he said he looked at his bench and he looked at everybody that was on the court, and he was like, "No, Angel, no, I don't." No, I don't. And his point of telling the story and what he shared was these girls, both Caitlin, because he had to coach against Caitlin all her AAC career as well. He was like, both of them have always had the same personalities. They've always talked so much trash, not just to each other, to everybody. Like Angel Reese talked trash to him on the court. Her own old AAU.
Yeah.
Like Caitlin, same way. And so it's just the media saw them doing it to each other and made such this big deal about it. But it also created these groups of haters of each other unnecessarily, because he was like, those girls were 10 years old with those same personalities, talking trash to each other, on not just to each other, to everybody. Like basically, you can't guard me, and look at how many rings I got. They did it to everybody. It was just that competitive spirit. So it's just one of the things I wanted to share that I learned from an AAU coach that coached Angel Reese and coached against Caitlin Clark. These girls have always been like this, and it's just, to my point, haters are gonna hate. They're going to, and they're going to pick their kingdoms and make up stories that none of it are true. These are just competitive athletes that talk trash to anyone. And it's like, you're either going to love them or you're going to hate them. And I do feel sorry for these number one draft picks in all the sports that end up having to go to the less talented team because they got the number one draft pick for that draft. It's a little frustrating for that player who just came from probably a really incredible team, which is why they ended up being the number one draft pick, but they end up going out to the next level and they get by the worst team and don't have a supporting cast, and they get frustrated. So that adds to the hater camp, right? Those people who see it and they psychoanalyze it, and then next thing you know, you got more and more haters for that person unnecessarily.
Yeah. Well, hopefully if we get enough of this much talent coming in year out, the worst teams are still going to be much better than they were, 5 years ago.
Yeah. So Angel, you touched upon, James J3, your son, playing in is it a Nike Elite League? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So maybe you could talk a little bit about his playing career thus far. I mean, the last time I saw your kid, he wasn't the height that he is now, because when we talked, I couldn't believe how tall he got. right? But before that, he was maybe my height, maybe a little bit taller, but now he's sprouted even more. So maybe you can talk a little bit about his playing career and maybe even Joseph's playing career as well. And, where they're projected to be height-wise. That'd be great too.
Yeah. I have 2 boys. They both absolutely love basketball. The youngest one has a sick addiction, is what I'm gonna call it. That boy, we have to force him to put the ball down to eat dinner, to do literally anything. We had to even talk to him about, you're gonna start kindergarten. You do know you can't play basketball all day long when you go to kindergarten. He was like, why not? They don't have a goal at kindergarten? Like, nope, Joseph, nope. There's a desk you got to sit at. And you got to learn other subjects. He was like, there's stuff to learn besides basketball? Like,
nice.
Like, that young one is addicted. But he is also ranked. He's 7 years old and he's number 11 in the country. His team is number 1 in the country. Like, he's like, and yeah, my oldest, he is also incredibly good. He just made the varsity basketball team and he made the varsity football team as a freshman, but told the football coach that he was going to just concentrate on basketball because that's where his passion and love is. So they're a little bit disappointed. The football coach has called us a lot, but he's
please let him play, please.
And his coach is Raymond Felton for AAU.
No kidding, the North Carolina Tar Heels. Yeah.
Raymond actually called me today, and he just out of the blue, my phone rang and said Raymond Felton. I was like, hi Raymond. He was like, hey, how's my guy doing? Did he make the varsity squad? I know he did. Send me his schedule, and I want to just go shoot with them sometimes. I'm like, I know you do. Like, it's so great. Like, he's being surrounded by such wonderfulness because he's so good. He's 6'4".
15 years old.
He's
15 years old, 6'4".
Yep, 15.
I'll get there one day. I'll get to 6'4" one day.
Projected to be 6'7". His little brother is projected to be 6'9".
Man, that's tight.
Hands are ridiculous. My oldest son's hands are as big as JJ Stokes. Like when JJ comes to visit and they do the hand thing.
And JJ's got some mitts, man. I mean, not many people engulf my hand with their shake, and his do. So.
He just took it out of here. He comes home from school today after they have varsity practice at the end of school. He runs into my office and he goes, Mom, I did it again. And he holds up his shoe. He wears a size 15 shoe, and he holds up his shoe. He busts through another pair of Nike shoes. He keeps busting through them. Like the whole thing is like no way. Whole foot goes through. Yeah. It's the second time.
Wow.
Yeah, check out my Instagram story, Eddie. You'll see it on there. Where I just recorded it again. I was like, again, like this kid is busting through shoes. Like but they're great. He plays for this Nike EYBL team, which is it's the most elite circuit you could be on now. Of course, they didn't have this when I played, but it is part of AAU. And now all the shoe brands have their own circuits, and they all have NBA players who have a shoe contract with that particular shoe brand. They like to make their own AAU teams, and they show up to practices with them. They like to compete against the other NBA players that are also in that same shoe brand. So Nike has its own, and it's the most elite of all the shoe brands. I think Adidas is second, New Balance is on there, Under Armour, they're all on there. So making a Nike circuit team means you're one of the most elite of the elite players, and they have it both for women, for girls and boys across the country. And so, and each one of them is backed by an NBA player. Wow. So this is Raymond Felton's team. They made it to the national championships. They almost made it to the Final Four before they lost. And I can't remember what NBA players team they lost to, but it was NBA players everywhere when you go to these tournaments.
Congratulations. That is
awesome. So cool. I mean, come full circle here, Angel, that, how you got letters in, 8th and 9th grade. I'm sure, James is going to be getting letters, and well as Joseph when he gets to that point as well. And, hopefully they'll be able to have some kind of professional.
Not letters anymore, Eddie. You're aging.
Oh yeah, emails,
follows,
or Instagram, whatever it's called.
Yeah. Come on, old man, get with it, will you?
I know. Sorry, man. I know the grades are showing more and more. So.
So, Angel, does your oldest pick your brain at all in terms of your journey and what decisions you make? I mean, I'm assuming kind of hearing your story that if the WNBA or a women's league would have been more financially rewarding, that may be something you would have pursued. So maybe that aspect of the decision has already been made for your oldest. Like this, I'm going to follow this as far as I can. But has he asked your advice, like on, getting a degree or a PhD or a master's in something versus actually following basketball?
A teenager? Nah.
I know. But, I'm going to compliment you here a little bit. The decisions you've made throughout your life have been very mature decisions. And it just seems like you made them at a very young age. So maybe some of that maturity rubbed off on your teenage boys. And
very mature for his age. I call him my old soul. I would say the only thing that he's really asked me is, Mom, why didn't you go play in the WNBA? Why? But he sees it as this opportunity as it is now, because he doesn't, and so I have to kind of remind him of what that opportunity just wasn't there financially back when I played, when I was in my prime, as it is now, because he just sees the moment now going, I see him on TV, they're living their best lives. Why didn't you play like this? My 7-year-old asked me the same thing, like, Mom, you could have played in that? And I'm like, that's not what it was.
Right. Here's your answer. Here's your answer to that. You said, if I'd have followed that path, you may not have existed.
Yes.
That's true.
Yeah. There you go. Then I got a lot more explaining to do, especially that.
Yeah, you do.
Well, but you would have chosen a much more challenging life. You're going to be traveling everywhere, doing. I mean, there's a lot more things that you would have had to have done to make ends meet.
That's true. So,
true.
Yeah. That's so true. And I probably wouldn't have met their father because James, also my husband, James, he also played basketball, and our universities were rivals. So we met our senior year, both of us same age, both of us were seniors, and we finally got introduced to each other. A girl from my team was dating a guy from his team, introduced us our senior year. So we both played basketball. It's like just in our blood, our soul. He also thought he was going to go to the NBA, was strict on his diet. He never had taken a sip of alcohol until his second half of his senior year, because he was like, I'm going to be drafted to the NBA. And then that didn't happen. And then he was like, all right, screw it. Let's live life now.
Yeah, it's on the party.
Where's the whiskey?
Yes. Yeah, Eddie knows. He's drank with him.
Oh, yeah, he's a partier. He's fun, though. And Twan, I think you may have seen him because he was the DJ at my 50th party.
Yes.
He was the MC.
Yes. I remember.
Was the DJ. So, so, and they both played basketball with JJ in the league. So, so that's coming full circle.
Until knees and Achilles start going out.
Yep.
Yeah. Yes, you got to be careful. That's how I stopped playing basketball, Angel, is that my Achilles blew out in 2003, and I was playing regularly, and I just never played again after that. I haven't touched the ball since I don't know how long, but that's happens. The injuries happen. What happened with JJ? Like the same thing. Like that's scary. The patella tendon is a serious injury, and so is the Achilles. I mean, those are career-ending injuries. And so yeah, I don't want to mess with that. I'm getting too old for that, so I'm good. I don't need to play anymore. So Angel, this was a great show. We want to just go ahead and just introduce you to the audience. Have them get more familiar with your background, since you're going to be a guest that we're going to bring on here to talk WNBA. We'd love to have you back. Talk a little bit more about WNBA and what your thoughts are. Our next show is probably going to be in a couple of weeks. We can coordinate, see if that works for you or not. But we'd love to have you at that point. Yeah. And then at that point, we'll bring you on, on occasion, depending on what's going on. Especially when the playoffs start coming to the WNBA, we definitely want to start having you talk a little bit more about that. So that would be great. So,
thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. So, Angel, it was definitely a pleasure for you to be on the show. And for the rest for the audience, this is Buzzer Beaters. We are a property of grumblingsmedia.com. You can go ahead and find us at Rumble, YouTube, under the profile Grumblings Media. You can also find us on Facebook, X, just anywhere you can get your podcast. We're going to be here again on the 18th of September. Hopefully Angel could be joining us at that time. Please, we're live for a reason, so we can get you some of your commentary. There was another comment that came in from Grumblings Media, but it was kind of too late for me to bring it up, so I didn't do it. So, but anyway, appreciate the time, Angel. We're going to go ahead and sign off from the show. And until next time, this is Buzzer Beaters signing off.
Hey everybody, this is Big John from Grumblings Media, and I just want to say thank you for watching our content. If you want to support our efforts here at Grumblings Media, just smash the subscribe button right here, totally free, or just go ahead and consume more of our great content. Click either one of these two boxes.